Hello, I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review, and I want to thank all of our keynote speakers, expert moderators, panelists, and solutions sponsors for participating in this year's Insight Jam Live. This has been a big year with the launch of the InsightJam.com community site and the amazing growth of the Insight Jam YouTube channel, which now has over 500,000 subscribers. Much of this success is tied directly to the video events, podcasts, and panel discussions we have been producing, and none of that would be possible without the thoughtful participation of the many IT professionals who are generously sharing their expert insights for this latest jam. We are building Insight Jam to be a place to celebrate enterprise technology with best practices, expert analysis, and solution showcases. And we want all of you to join us there to keep the jam going into the new year and beyond. If you haven't joined Insight Jam, please do. And if you already have, take a moment to invite some of your colleagues. And again, thank you all for being here and enjoy this event.
Solutions Review presents the Insight Jam Expert Keynote.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dan Aldrich. I'm the Director of Marketing for PCG, Providence Consulting Group. And I'm here today to talk to you about how to upgrade your legacy ERP to the cloud. So, what is business transformation? Business transformation is a change in strategy that is done with an enabler of digital technologies, such as cloud technologies. And digital transformation is usually focused more on technology at the exclusion of business transformation or business, worrying about the business and process aspects of technology. And why should we go with the cloud? The cloud is how we can put our systems up, and we can bring these on-premise systems to the cloud and take advantage of multiple technologies that are also in the cloud. So those might be things like other cloud systems like a Salesforce for CRM or so. And the ERP, once it goes into the cloud, is able to connect to other cloud systems. Why now? Well, the obvious answer is that the ERP vendors are forcing cloud migrations because they want to get rid of on-premise systems that are out of date. Many of them are going off maintenance. And so the cloud, I mean, you can't blame them for doing this. The cloud vendors want to make sure that the on-premise systems are converted to the cloud. There are a lot of advantages of that. So, that can be that you clean up all these on-premise systems and you get them off of maintenance or get them on maintenance actually. And then you can integrate those systems up on the cloud. So, and they can even be other systems other than ERP systems. They can be multiple different brands of ERP systems as well. So, the multiple ERP systems, definitely want to get them to the cloud and take advantage of cloud technologies and the ability to connect those systems up on the cloud. So also you want to have the advantages of the cloud that are things like on-premise systems usually have user interfaces that are dated, and the systems, some of the systems are simply off maintenance, meaning that they can't be used anymore. So you need to go to the cloud. And the biggest from the point of view of a CIO is that they want to reduce cost and consolidate all these systems into the cloud and enable things like planning across multiple sites in a multi-site scenario, and also having less on-premise licenses. You can reduce costs in terms of database and hardware and so on. So there's a lot of advantages, cost advantages and consolidation advantages from a CIO's perspective. Also, there tends to be deadlines that a CIO has to deal with. So For instance, SAP ECC, which is an on-premise system that's been around for a long time, SAP has said that they need to go up to anybody who has ECC version EHP, I think it is EHP 5 and below, has to go up to 6 by the end of next year. So by 2025, and then they've also put out a deadline for going to S/4HANA, which is their cloud platform, by the end of 2027. So there's a number of these looming deadlines that CIOs are facing, and cloud ERP vendors are basically putting those deadlines on them, and they're also being reinforced by systems integrators and things like that. So also another cloud technology or enabler of cloud technology is iPaaS, which is Integration Platform as a Service. And what this enables you to do is there's a lot of vendors for this, like Boomi and so on, that are, and also the ERP vendors have iPaaS capabilities. And what that allows you to do is two things. One is it allows you to connect systems that are from the same vendor. So you might have CRM, you might have PLM or product lifecycle management. You might have an HRM or human resource management system. Those can all be connected via an iPaaS and various different techniques, APIs, REST APIs, and many other techniques that fall under the heading of iPaaS. And so that's a way of connecting all these systems together. And you can also connect other systems that you might have, like other ERP systems that might feed data into, let's say, a data lake or so that's on the cloud. You can feed that data in. You can also connect those systems so that you use APIs to have them collaborate and cooperate between them. So also in the neighborhood of, or in the under the heading of data and KPIs, you have data that can flow into a data lake or a data warehouse. And you can have KPIs that are key performance indicators that you develop that can be shown in dashboards and workspaces that are measuring the business metrics. And the business metrics can be kept automatically by the system if you develop the KPIs on top of a central data repository like a data lake or a data warehouse. And all that data can be fed in from different ERP systems, which is a real big advantage, because if you have multiple on-premise systems and even multiple cloud systems, you can feed all that data into one central repository, and you can use business intelligence and workspaces and key performance indicators on that shared data. So, and that facilitates what I call multi, which is multi-site, multi-currency, multi-language, all of those things when you get into a bigger organization. So maybe when you started with your system, it was a smaller organization and it's grown internationally. And you need this kind of functionality to, in your business transformation, you need that kind of functionality, and it needs to be in the cloud in order to do it across these different sites. So amongst the three pillars of business transformation, and I say business transformation because I'm assuming that it's a strategic project to transform your business as well as your technology and as well as the digital part. The biggest thing here is to prepare well for a project of this sort. If it's a business strategy type project, we prepare with what's called phase 0. So phase 0 is a preparation project where you survey the people in the project and the executives, and you find out what the key performance indicators are going to be. And you also develop the people aspects of the transformation project, which might be the organizational change management plan. And you see on the right here, you have a change assessment, and you also have the change strategy planning that you go through to prioritize and align along the lines of what the executive sponsors wanted out of the project, and also to communicate that down to the key users and even the end users in some cases. So like I say here, bottom up as well as top down. So frequently these initiatives come from the top, and the phase 0 project doesn't really include those important key users, and you get kind of a resistance and a backlash possibly against the strategic aims of the project. So I say here, use independent analysts. There are a number of firms out there that, and also analyst firms and also advisory firms that are very good at OCM and selection of an ERP system, so that this kind of people and process aspect is you can get help with that if you're doing a project internally, or even if you're doing it with a software partner. So what you want to do when you go through that process is you want to evaluate the processes that you have, and you want to eliminate ones that are no longer necessary. And frequently that if you use tools such as process mining and process catalogs, you can actually go through the processes because a lot of them have become old over time. And you can see whether they're being used, first of all, and whether they're being executed, and you can sort of assess those processes. And if you have a process that's no longer needed, you definitely do not want to go ahead and automate that process. You want to eliminate that process. And in that process of going through the processes, you can also assess readiness for change. There are a number of actual tools that you can use to assess readiness for change. And those might be things such as survey tools, and you can automate that process where the users and the executives are frequently giving their feedback on how things are going, and you can assess during the project. So nobody likes change. So you definitely want to keep monitoring this as the project goes on. So two of the things that happen during on-premise projects and over time with on-premise systems are that the data grows exponentially, it gets dirty, and customizations are very common, because customizations, they have been actually the bane of the existence of an on-premise system. They develop because of holes in the system or functionality that wasn't there originally. And those customizations really need to be cleaned in order to migrate to a new system. So you see here, there's a diagram of this. This is actually data conversion, so that you have a source system, and it can be multiple systems. So you see that listing of different ERP vendors there. You can stage the data conversion and do some cleaning before it's loaded, because you definitely want to clean that data before you feed it into a fresh new cloud system, so you don't get those same sorts of problems. And you can stage it and clean it outside the system. So, using staging tables or some sort of interim data source like a spreadsheet or a database tool. And so basically it's a very similar process actually to between customizations and cleaning up data. Customizations, you want to list them out. So you want to list what those customizations were in the past. One of the things that tends to happen with on-premise systems is that they have a lot of customizations that were reports initially in the system, and because there wasn't a good business intelligence tool to use, or there was some requirement that came in, and it was easy to customize to get a report out of the system. So you can usually eliminate large numbers of customizations in the process. So that customization is great to clean that up for a number of reasons. One is that has limited in the past the ability to upgrade to newer versions of the on-premise systems, because they had to recreate those. They had to recreate those customizations in the new systems. So now, in order to avoid basically falling behind and having a customized system that limits your ability to your competitive advantage, then you need to get rid of these customizations, and a large portion of them can be gotten rid of. And the remaining number of those is frequently you can reprogram those using something like a BTP with SAP or some other tool. And also, independent analysts can help here, and smaller regional players. You don't necessarily have to have a systems integrator to come in and redo a lot of customizations. You can get a smaller company to do that with you. So how do you modernize this system? You basically, what's happened over time is you see here sort of a before and after kind of a picture of an older system, an on-premise system maybe, and a new cloud system on the right. So you can see a lot of these things have been turned into graphical displays that you can drill down on. You have a lot of exception monitoring. So, you see those numbers there, 15,297 over there. Those are numbers of things, orders or so, that have to be dealt with. And that frequently a really nice user interface improvement that's been done with cloud ERP. So by definition, or right away, you get a massive advantage in the user interface, which results in more user adoption, particularly with the new users, because you're able to consume these new dashboards, workspaces, role-based home pages, things like that with a mobile device, a phone or a tablet, and it's all browser-based, so you can just open up Chrome or so, whatever your browser is, and consume those new dashboards. And you can also install this iPaaS, and I think this is a really important point, is that when you install an iPaaS, you give yourself the opportunity to have basically a multi-cloud system. So that means that you can also have kind of a best of breed situation. So, for example, Workday, I put Workday down as an example. It's a very good human resource management system. Salesforce is a good CRM or so. And you can have that as part of your system and not rely completely on the ERP systems modules that cover that. It might not be quite as good. So, and you can also use process catalogs, are a relatively new thing. So you can actually use the process catalogs to look at a particular process, like procure to pay, for example, and drill down a few levels to the actual sessions that you're using in that process, and determine which ones you're going to keep. So when you're modernizing your system and also building a system that will be adopted by your users, you want to essentially model those processes and have them reflect the processes that you're going to do in the new system. And process mining tools is a very recent development also that allows you to kind of assess old processes and think and see whether they're actually being used and how they're being used, and to decide which ones should be automated. And you can bring in workflow tools. So workflow is essentially generating those numbers there, so that you can manage by exception rather than trying to look at all the orders, let's say, and try to find anomalies. You can also use RPA in that instance, robotic process and adoption or automation, so that you can have it pinpoint anomalies for you. So I'm going to talk about that here in a second. So this is a hot topic. Obviously, we've had a lot of these robotics and machine learning. These tools have been around for a long time. This is not necessarily new, but what we're seeing in recent years, and even accelerating a lot in the last, say, 6 months, is that generative AI has become a much bigger part of ERP system platforms. And they're also, these kinds of generative AI tools are influencing how cloud ERP migrations are done. So companies are kind of under pressure just because they are being told by vendors that, hey, this is something that's coming. This is something that you need to do, or you're going to be left behind by other companies. And I think that there's a lot of fear about things like losing jobs, and the AI developing biases, so making some sort of inference based on data that isn't correct, based on, usually because of incorrect data. So and then there's hallucinations and quite a few other problems with AI, but it's definitely being increasingly used for content creation. That's everywhere. Content discovery, analysis of data, and also knowledge management, which would be doing training and those sorts of tasks. Conversational AI is being used just to basically talk back and forth with virtual assistants. You see them everywhere popping up, but they're also popping up inside Copilots within ERP systems. And just in general, they're becoming almost ubiquitous. So, but I think the most exciting part is the simulations part. So you can use it for prototyping. I myself am in manufacturing industry a lot. And there's the possibility of developing what are called digital twins, so that you can simulate in a digital way a process that you have, a manufacturing process that you have, for instance, and you can do what if scenarios. So it's really coming up. It's very important, but it's also something that where human intelligence is really needed here. That human intelligence is still the decision maker here. And it's also basically determining whether something that AI uncovers, like an anomaly, for instance, is something that's worth following up on. I mean, we don't want to have a situation where we have AI making a recommendation or taking a recommendation, even more dangerous, I think, that we'll have it acting on something that is erroneous. So I think we need more use cases. I've seen a lot, like pricing recommendations. I've seen selective selling, bundling types of routines, date manipulation or date interpretation for planning engines and things like that. So there's a ton of use cases already out there and more being developed quickly, but I think we still need more in ERP. So the training and testing phase that in a project is an extremely important phase, and it's something that I show here. The top is Top Gun from the 80s, actually, and at the bottom is very cool graphics, from the recent movie, which was 2022, I believe, Top Gun Maverick. And the old movie, now when I look back on it, it seems very dated, and it seems as though that the training and the testing of that they were doing in that movie of the F-14, it was, I think, is very simple and very rudimentary compared to what we have now. And I think that AI and machine learning are really going to take over a lot of maintenance types of tasks. But I think it's still, human intelligence is still very important, and it's still needed to provide feedback on the recommendations that, say, an RPA is giving, and automation of workflows and things like that. So, I mean, the technology obviously is way better than it was before, and AI is becoming a much bigger part of the whole ERP scenario. But it begs the question, what happens if the technology falters, or if the humans are kind of out of their depth or stretched to their limits? What happens then? So I think you had a situation where Top Gun Maverick, they were very, very close to their limits. And I think that's happening already, is that technology is almost outpacing what humans can handle. And it's very interesting. We'll see what's going to happen in the future. But I think what's going to happen is that the cloud ERP systems that we're migrating to are going to become much more advanced and much more user friendly, and also much more augmented by things like Copilots that will allow quick recognition of trends, quick analysis of a situation, how to enter an order, all kinds of things like that. So I think it's going to make it cool again, the way it was cool for me, Top Gun, the original. So I think that what we're going to have is just a few predictions. I think what we're going to have is that the AI projects themselves the failure rates are actually quite high. And I think that we're going to have a situation where that failure rate continues to grow. I think more companies are obviously undertaking standalone AI projects, but I think that we're really reaching an inflection point with cloud ERP systems, is that they really need to prioritize getting those old on-premise systems out and upgraded to the cloud. And also, in the meantime, converting or transforming their businesses to match the advances in the cloud ERP. So this is just my opinion, but I think that business transformation is relatively more important than AI at this moment. And certainly the tools are going to be part of what they're upgrading to. So, I mean, there's several other trends and predictions here. I have a link in my presentation, actually. The ERP predictions, and also the strategic trends for 2025. So I can send you this presentation if you would like, and it has links to those things. So basically, we can assist on your upgrade from your legacy ERP systems to cloud. We have about 30 years. Well, I should say I have about 30 years of manufacturing ERP experience and about 10 years doing upgrades to the cloud. So this is an example of our cloud ERP deployment method that we've perfected over many years. So obviously we know the drill, and we are partners of these two, Infor, Alliance Partner, and NetSuite Alliance Partner. And we also have a smart factory solution. So thank you very much.
For video highlights, replays, and more, visit insightjam.com.